Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're well. Just before I start, my name's Tom. I work with Reddy in the EMEA team, and we'd like to thank InterSystems for the opportunity to be part of this event. It's been great to share ideas and look at the innovations that are going on in our industry at the moment. It's been a fantastic couple of days. Today, I'd like to talk about connecting communities using the technologies that we all work with. We talk about integration, we talk about innovation, and we see that healthcare is changing more than ever at the moment and involving people in ways that previously weren't available, and that technology that we all work with and produce is unlocking that. So this is a graphic from the King's Fund in London, and it really neatly encapsulates the expansion of health to a much wider concept, which is that of wellness. And what we're talking about here is the totality of a person's wellness, not just when they're sick, but thinking outside the hospital walls and actually thinking to their life every day. What are the things that contribute to their well-being? What are the things that make them happy? What are the things that support being well? And often when we've thought about technology and how it plays a role in health, we've thought about how to make hospitals more efficient. We've thought about referrals, we've thought about clinical processes, and those things are very important. But what we want to look at now is expanding those definitions so that we involve and engage citizens. And we can see healthcare systems around the world, but particularly in the NHS at the moment, changing. And as integrated care systems come into effect, they're still fairly new, we hope that that will see through this kind of vision where people are more active participants in their care. But there are challenges. There are challenges to connected communities, which we know. Is there a central vision? And does funding support that? And what we mean by that is our interests, whether by design or otherwise, actually competing with one another. Have we got local systems in competition with local systems? Have we got the national centres supporting those local systems? And do the needs of partners and colleagues within a system all align? And it's difficult. So we've heard a lot of really good ideas about how technology is only part of the solution. In fact, what we need to think about is people, and we need to think about supporting people with those changes. So tech challenges do come into it, and that's where we and our partners InterSystems can help with looking at integration of legacy IT systems, data silos, interoperability, and a lack of standardization in information. So we can aggregate, cleanse, bring together that data, make it useful, make it meaningful, make it usable. And we heard about actionable insight in some of the conversations yesterday. Absolutely agree. But the system and the tech brings us through to the people. Disconnected pathways and flows, working with new people, people that perhaps we know who are in our system, but we didn't work with before. We may not have engaged with systems directly as a service or as colleagues, and they may not have engaged with us, and they may not be confident to do that. So how do we enable people to do that? And how do we bring teams together to work together for the first time across these verticals? Well, there are lots of possible answers, of course, but here's 5 potentials. Now, we heard yesterday some fantastic talks that mention often the concept of trust. Trust is so important if we're going to bring people with us on this journey and change what we're doing in healthcare. So we have to make people trust us. And when I say people, we mean colleagues. They have to believe that information is available, that it's accurate, that it can be relied upon. But citizens who are active in their care increasingly also have to trust us. Is my data secure? To what uses is it being put? Can I see it? Can I access it? And if I do interact with these services, do I get value from them? We also have to identify needs. For a long time, healthcare has been based around the needs of healthcare organisations, and that's valid. And we need to keep supporting colleagues to deliver on the great work that they do day in, day out. But in addition, we need to understand, are there unmet needs in the community? Almost certainly. So we can use ideas such as data quality, insight, analysis, to start pinpointing and identifying unmet need, which may not be medical. There could be support in the community, it could be a group to visit, it could be an activity. And we also want to create the services which match those needs. and commission them appropriately. And again, we're thinking outside the hospital walls now. So actually, when we look at a system across place and neighbourhood, what we're looking at is services that match those needs, match the needs of the citizen and their preferences. Because I don't always like the term, but healthcare could arguably be becoming more consumerised. So we want people to have that great experience that they'd expect with brands that they interact with in retail or leisure. And we want to make those connections digitally. Again, we all talk about this in our industry, in our community, but we want to make sure that these little bubbles are genuinely joined. What do we mean? Well, we mean, can I sign into a place that's familiar, that's usable, that's trusted, that's secure? Can I see the things I want to see, whether I'm a professional or an individual? Does it resonate with me? If I've said that I have some needs, do I see things that are coming back? Well, actually, that works on both sides of the coin, or depending on how you prefer your metaphors, on either side of the mirror. If you're a colleague, you want to see people who need to see you at the right time. If you're a person, you want to consume services that matter. You don't want to have to go through multiple touch points. So we want to make those connections. And of course, if we're doing all of this, is it working? We want to be able to measure it. We want to make our interactions with people, measure performance across services, but again, not just from a financial payer-provider point of view, although again, that is very important, but actually coming into, are we doing the right thing for our people, for our citizens? So, working with InterSystems, we've developed a product called Channels 360. So, we leverage the InterSystems stack to deliver this product. Now, we're really excited about the product because it's a low-code, no-code platform. And what we mean by that is that we can take the processes, the ideas, the concepts that we were looking at in the preceding slides and make them real very, very easily. So over on the left, you see a small graphic. And what we've tried to do with this is that what we mean by low code and no code is actually that you can visualize the process that you would like to enable and drag and drop the processes, the nodes along that process into reality. That's low code, no code. So it might be that you have a process that exists or that could exist. And along the pathway, you would like to interact with a person. So it could be, I have a clinical assessment to do, but having done the clinical assessment, I'd like to let colleagues know that that assessment has been completed. I'd like to send an alert. There's no coding involved any longer with that. So we can drag and drop. And what that does is it makes the realization of the preceding bubbles much, much faster. What we can do is once we've configured them, teams and coordinators can work together to understand what's happening in their system. And importantly, these two are linked. So actually, I can see, as I sign in, what's on my work list today. But instead of the traditional view, which is just something that's being fed to me, if that isn't working for me, as an organization, I can change that process. I can go back to the preceding step and actually change what I'm doing in collaboration with my colleagues and with the people who are using the services. So I mentioned SMS, email, and we also support video calling, Zoom, Teams, etc. So if a person actually would prefer to engage and consume services in those ways, we can enable that. But the two really, I probably should have put a little sort of circle between the two, little reciprocating arrow, is that these two interact together. And then finally, at high system level, then we can actually monitor performance across these patches. So Channels 360 makes real these connected communities, and importantly, it's cloud-based, secure, and it has what we call a community-facing application, which is to be used on a mobile phone. So individuals can engage with the service in a way that's consumable for them, but we also don't want to create digital deserts. So if that isn't appropriate for the person, we're still going to support professionals to interact with people, see them in clinic, in face-to-face encounters, over the phone, in a really, really flexible way. And again, leveraging InterSystems technologies, what we can do is pull on the widest possible source of prior data to make sure that those interactions are as meaningful and as useful as possible for the citizen and for the system. What we also are very proud of with Channels is a project we're doing in the States, in Staten Island. So we've been looking closely at social determinants of health, as they call it in the States. So over here, it would be how much does, and I mentioned it on the first slide, your overall life contribute to your well-being? And what we've found is by associating non-clinical interactions and interventions with the services that people receive, you can actually reduce the load on healthcare services, and you can genuinely have an impact on the way people are living their lives in a choice-based, person-led way. So Channels 360 is a combination of, in fact, I might just go back to my prior slide. It's a combination of establishing the trust and giving choice, identifying needs, helping people access services in consumable ways, making meaningful connections, and then measuring the progress we're having. And I think if I go back to this slide and we just look again, that's why we think that the time is right to look in the widest possible way, at the largest possible scale, at the way that well-being actually contributes to an individual's experience of health and an individual's experience of life. So, yeah, we are just over here in the partner zone, and if anyone would like to have a look at Channels, we'd be really, really pleased to show you the product and walk you through the ways in which the pathways can be created, because we're very excited about the projects we're running, and we're available to support the NHS and other partners in health to do the things that we believe are coming. Thank you very much.